G'day everyone, welcome to episode 129 of the Trademate Sports Betting Podcast, a betting preview of this weekend's Premier League Game Week 1 fixtures. We're here, it's arrived, how exciting. And joining me is our card betting expert and the man who's full of stats, George Gamble. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. I'm much better than the other day when we did the podcast when me and Nigel were anything but bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at around 8 in the morning. But it was good. But I'm all good today. Looking forward to discussing some of the games for the opening weekend of the Premier League.
Yeah, mate. How good is it? We've got games we're going to go through today. We're going to go through Brentford, Arsenal, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, and Everton versus Southampton. But as always, we like to kick things off. It's the return of the quiz question, mate. And it's based around last year. This is quite an interesting question, and a lot of people might be shocked by the result here. But maybe you'll know this one. Manchester City last season, they did win the title by 12 points, mate. But where were they on the table on Christmas Day? A very, very interesting result that we will get to at the back of the podcast, where we will reveal the answer. Let's go to the first one of your games you want to talk about today. Brentford versus the great Arsenal, mate. Arsenal team news for this one is Partey's out, which is a big loss. And also Gabriel probably won't be back for a couple of weeks. Saka, I would assume, will not start this, along with Martinelli, as they're both coming back from the Euros and World Cup. So it won't be a World Cup, the Olympics, sorry. So it won't be a full Arsenal team. So I'm quite surprised with the odds on this one. You can get Arsenal at about best price of 1.9, and you can get the draw at 3.8, and Brentford as high as 4.5, 4.4.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easy to kind of see why the odds are where they're at, and I'd kind of agree with them, to be honest. Obviously, you'll know. I mean, I love Brentford, obviously, with Matthew Benham. I know you've covered it. You've done a few videos on Matthew Benham. It's great to see. And yeah, it's one I am looking forward to. You know, a team who finally made it to the Premier League and their fans finally get to see them in the flesh again. And it's going to be a tough game for Arsenal, definitely. But I just think cream will rise to the top. And I think Arsenal just got a little bit more quality than Brentford. But Brentford will be well drilled. Thomas Frank's done a great job there. The one finally won the Championship playoff last season after years of disappointment to earn promotion to the Premier League for the first time ever. So, like I said, with the supporters, it's just a massive occasion for them in a brand new stadium as well. And to have Arsenal visiting for the first ever Premier League game for your club, it's a great occasion, which is why I think this will be definitely one to watch on a Friday night. And pre-season results, looking at that, they're not overly important. It is all about fitness. It's all about betting players back in again. But do you just feel Arsenal would be a bit more optimistic about the new season if they'd have actually managed to win any of their 4 friendlies? Lost 2-1 to Hibernian from Scotland, and then obviously played another Scottish side and Rangers, drawing 2-2, and then lost to Chelsea and Tottenham as well. It's, like I said, it is all about fitness, but it also can bring a little bit of confidence going into the season.
I will just point out that we beat Millwall, mate.
You beat Millwall, did you? Okay, I must have missed that one.
We beat someone else too, I'm pretty sure. I think we won 2 games, but that was in between the Scotland games and the Chelsea and Tottenham games.
But nevertheless, like I said, I wouldn't read too much into that. You never can. Obviously, I'm just merely saying it would have been a bit better for them, I think, if they'd have perhaps put a bit of a run together there. But new season, and like we said, Arsenal are definitely favourites heading into this one. But for me, I look at Arsenal and that team news. I mean, Ben White, 50 million. I do think Ben White's a great signing, maybe not for 50 million, but I think he's exactly what Arsenal need. I do think Ben White could be a bit of a leader. He's great centre half, reliable, and I think the only way is up for him under the tutelage of Arteta. They've also signed Lokonga from Anderlecht and Tavares from Benfica. Good signings that should shore them up defensively once they've gelled. And I do like the work that Arteta has done in terms of the players that he's brought in. But Brentford have made some good signings of their own. Obviously, if you're coming up from the Championship, unless you're Leeds, you need to be signing quality players if you want to stay up and make a good account of yourselves. And they've signed a centre-back, I believe it's pronounced Ayer from Celtic, and I believe it's one that a lot of scouts had looked at Ayer in terms of his ball-playing ability, the way he wins it. He's excellent, and I think he's perfect for the way Brentford want to play. He's a brilliant centre-half. They've also signed Onyeka from Benham's other club in Midtjylland, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. And they've signed Visser from Lorient, which is, again, I'm surprised not more clubs were in for Visser. He's a good ball player, ball carrier, an exciting player as well. So he did very well in Ligue 1 last season. So that's a brilliant addition for them. As we mentioned on the podcast before, though, I think Nige brought it up, actually. It was an interesting one. Lacazette's got that perfect opportunity to extend that Premier League record and become the first ever player to score the first EPL goal of a new season if he finds the net on 3 occasions, So that's an interesting one. I think he could do it as well. But the angles that I was looking at, actually, there were kind of 2 potential bets I like the look of. The first one is for there to be over 3 Asian cards. So obviously if there's only 3 cards in the game, it's a refund to get your money back. More than that, and obviously it's a win. And I just kind of look at it, Arsenal were averaging around 20 booking points per game last season. Meanwhile, Brentford were picking up an average of 1.4 cards per game last season. Brentford were one of the better sides in the Championship. They dominated the ball. They were clearly one of the better sides, but they still managed to pick up a couple of cards, and they won't have faced anyone with the quality of Arsenal. So I think that average obviously will definitely go up this season. And the referee for this one's Michael Oliver, and he averaged just over 3 cards per game last season. And there's been at least 3 cards in 14 of his last 20 games officiated overall. And yeah, for me, I think this one's got all the ingredients of cards. Because particularly, like I said, you've got those fans of Brentford in. They're going to be getting right behind their team. Brentford are going to be so up for it, energetic, but could lose their heads occasionally. They're so keen to get in a challenge and break away that committing a few awkward fouls. And again, because of how energetic they'll be, and Arsenal obviously with some new signings trying to gel, maybe some miscommunication and some dodgy fouls. And Arsenal are usually quite good for cards. So for me, I think there'll be at least 3 cards in this one. Hence why I'm going on the Asian over to kind of play it a little bit safer. And you can get that it's at 1.875 on Bet365. The other angle I like was potentially both teams to score. Like I said, Thomas Franks, he's instilled a free-flowing style of football at Brentford, and they've shored up defensively in terms of signings, but they'll always give their opponents chances just due to the way they play. And I do worry that this isn't the Championship, it's the Premier League. Teams will hurt you if you make mistakes, whereas you won't be able to get away with the things in the Premier League that you can in the Championship. So they will allow Arsenal opportunities. But I do think, likewise, same as that, Arsenal give you chances. And Ivan Toney scored, I think it was 31 goals in the Championship last season. So he's going to be so eager to get underway. And for me, I think both teams could score in this one. I really do. And at 1.75, I quite like that price. So those would be my 2 plays for Brentford against Arsenal on Friday night. Over 3 Asian cards and in a separate bet, both teams to score.
Yeah, but back to the cards, mate. I think it's what do you think the impact will be? There's 2 things I wanted to talk about here, like the impact of crowds for one. Do you think? I mean, the natural thought is that crowds creates more cards, but secondly, I saw something about I can't remember who it was from. Maybe it's from a journalist or something on Twitter, and he was saying that the referees have been briefed to make the league a bit more physical and kind of let things go a little bit more. I guess not favouring diving and all this kind of things. I guess just letting the game flow a bit more. Do you think that might reduce in less cards too? Have you got any thoughts on both of those things that I mentioned?
Well, obviously, I've not heard that, but if that's the case, but then how much can you get away with? If the league's more physical, players are going to think, right, well, I can get away with more then. And, how far do they push it? I don't think it's going to impact the number of cards that much. To be honest, if anything, it could see it go up in terms of averages, because if the league is getting more physical, there you are. There's the opportunities for cards there, and they won't know how far they can push it. So it's a whole new area. So for me, I think that just means there could be even more cards. And I just look at this fixture and I think of everything I look for in terms of games of cards, this has got it. It's a brand new stadium, Brentford's first ever Premier League game. They're coming up against quality opposition, want to make a good account of themselves. They're going to be full of energy and absolutely buzzing, probably playing on adrenaline as well. You've got Michael Oliver, who's not shy of a card. For me, I think over 3 Asian cards. For example, if it was just purely over 3.5, I want a bit more out of the price. But because it's 3 Asian cards, if there's only 3, something that's happened in 14 of the last 20 games Oliver has refereed, if there's only 3, you get your money back. For me, that's a great price, 1.875. I really do like that. But yeah.
Cool, mate. Well, we'll look forward to watching that one. That's on tomorrow. Oh, what's that for? It's basically on this time tomorrow. So by the time this comes out, you'll have a couple of hours to get those bets on. So be quick, everyone. Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. I'll get the odds up for this one. Chelsea very short at 1.3. Best odds I can see there. Draw at 6s or a little bit lower than that elsewhere. And Crystal Palace, you can get as high as 14 on Betfair. So, it seems that the bookies are basically giving Patrick Vieira absolutely no chance of a victory here in his first ever game in charge of Palace.
Yeah, as I said on the other podcast, for me, I think Patrick Vieira is one of my favourites as the next manager to leave his post. Palace, they look like relegation fodder already to me, just looking at them. And we saw last season, I remember seeing that our Palace are at risk of losing this many players. And I was like, well, that won't happen though. Obviously, it's maybe signed a few one-year deals or this, that and the other. And they didn't. They lost around 9 first-team players due to contracts ending, including centre-halves, Cahill, Gary Cahill that is, and Scott Dan. And they're 2 magnificent centre-halves and very experienced, very strong Premier League defenders. They've spent big on Chelsea defender, under 23 defender, I should say, Guehi, for 21 million, who was on loan at Swansea in the Championship last season. And it's a good sign for the future, but he's got no Premier League experience. And he can't replace that experience of Cahill and Dan just yet. He might turn out to be absolutely brilliant, but nevertheless, he still won't have that experience and know-how that the aforementioned 2 have. And there's like I said, a long way to go in this window yet, but they've lost that experience without replacing it. They've brought in Patrick Vieira, who I'm not that convinced by. He's not had an extensively successful record as a manager. He was, in my opinion, largely disappointing at Nice, I believe. And like I said before, they've got all the makings of a relegation fodder, and I think they've got their work cut out here, as the odds would suggest. And away from home, Palace were conceding on average 1.65 expected goals against, and now they lost 2 Premier League experienced central defenders, as well as the likes of Andros Townsend. A lot of very, very experienced players, key to them, like the spine of their team. It's going to be a long day for them, in my opinion. Chelsea have won 16 of their last 20 games against Palace, including each of the last 7. So, they do tend to do well against their London rivals. And Palace have lost their last 4 visits to Stamford Bridge by an aggregate of 11-2. It's not a place they enjoy visiting. So, for me, I look at it, Chelsea are going to be on a massive high after winning that Super Cup. I know it was on penalties, but nevertheless, hands on more silverware already. Perfect way to start the season. And the fans are going to be eager to get into Stamford Bridge and celebrate with their team. It's going to be fever pitch at Stamford Bridge, in my opinion. There's just a feel-good factor around that club at the moment. And you look at the last 3 meetings, there's been at least 4 goals in all of them. With the 2 sides sort of heading in seemingly opposite directions. You've got Chelsea on the up and Palace just look to be going the complete opposite way. And I think there could be another goal fest here, with Chelsea coming out on top, obviously. And for me, I really like the look of Chelsea winning and over 2.5 goals. I think Chelsea could run riot here. And obviously, if Palace can somehow nick a goal, as we know, Chelsea can concede the odd one, then obviously I think this bet's a winner. And it's priced at evens on 2.0 on Bet365, and I looked at a lot of other bookies, and the same bet was priced at around 1.86. So I'm not sure if the price is still there or not, but for evens on this, I think it's way overpriced. I think other bookies have got the line right at around 1.86. Sorry, the price right at 1.86. So Chelsea win and over 2.5 goals. Straightforward here for me.
So you don't think there'll be any kind of, hangover from the Super Cup? I'm not sure how many days rest. Is it 3 or 4 days rest they're going to have?
Yeah, it's about that, I believe. So, I think they could play on 1 day's rest, and I think they would just dismantle this Palace side. And, honestly, I really do. I really do not rate. Squad. They're I'm just looking at this team. You've got Eze out as well. Nathan Ferguson's out. No Conor Gallagher. It really is a tricky one. I'm just looking at it. I'd imagine Chelsea will still maintain their 3 at the back with obviously playing the wing backs, and Alonso and Hudson and Odoi are just going to tear them apart. I really think they are. And I think it's just me back to the wall for Crystal Palace. I see nothing else other than, as the price suggests, a Chelsea win here. And I do think there could be goals. So Chelsea and over 2.5. The fact that it's at evens, I was very surprised by. So it's definitely a value punt for me.
All right, there we go. Last game you wanted to go through today, mate, is Everton and Southampton. Rafa Benitez's first game in charge of Everton, and coming up against Southampton, they've had quite a few outgoings this summer, so it'll be interesting to see how they shape up in their first game, or just in general this season. It might not be the season that Southampton fans are wanting, mate. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm looking forward to this one in that it's going to be weird to see Rafa Benitez managing Everton, isn't it? It really is a strange one. But yeah, both sides have got checks to make over key players ahead of this curtain raiser. Now, Richarlison, fair play to him. He's only just back from the Olympics. He said he wanted to come back straight away. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a doubt for Everton, while James Ward-Prowse for Southampton, he's only just recovered from a knee injury. So it'd be interesting to see if he starts here, because he is a doubt going into this one. But yeah, as you said, looking at Southampton, they've kind of been decimated by transfer outgoings, really. And, they've lost their top goal scorer from last season in Danny Ings after his switch to Aston Villa. He contributed with 12 goals last season. And you look at the records between the two, and Everton haven't lost a Premier League home game to Southampton since '97. So they do tend to do quite well in the league when they're on home soil, do Everton. And the Saints have kept just one clean sheet in their last 9 league meetings with Everton. I think everything points to Everton here for me. I think they're more solid. I think they've got, in my opinion, a better manager. I do rate Hasenhüttl. I like the way he sort of sticks through tough periods and coaches his way out of it. I really do admire that. But how long will it last for is my question. I think they will struggle this year. And Everton haven't lost any of their opening league matches in the last 9 campaigns, while Southampton won just one of their last 14 season openers. They don't tend to do so well on that first day. But like I said, to be fair, Calvert-Lewin is a doubt. But his 16 Premier League goals last season were worth 16 points to Everton. And only Mo Salah for Liverpool had a more valuable contribution to his side. And if he is available, it would just be a huge boost for them. It really would. On the flip side, like I said, James Ward-Prowse is a doubt going into this one, and he was involved in 32% of Southampton's goals scored last season. And goals is something I think this side are going to struggle for. That yes, they got Shea Adams up top, and I do like him, but he's not an out-and-out goal scorer. He's not a natural finisher, is he? He's a bit of a workhorse. He works hard, but he's not a natural finisher. But yeah, so if he is a doubt, James Ward-Prowse going into this one after only returning to training this week, I believe. He had a knee injury as well. So yeah, if James Ward-Prowse isn't available, you combine that with the loss of Danny Ings, I think this is going to be a really tough game for them. Even to be honest, even if James Ward-Prowse is involved in this one, I just don't see who's going to, which one of these players is going to go out and score 15 goals for them a season to keep him up. I don't see a player in that side that's going to be able to do that. I don't think Shea Adams has got it in him. I just don't think he's a natural finisher. I think he worked well with Danny Ings, and obviously Danny Ings would finish all the chances, but I don't think Shea Adams is the man to be doing that. So for me, there was 2 angles, but I want to play the safer one, because I was looking at the price for Everton to win to 0, and that was at 3.25, which I thought was a good price, but I'm playing it a little bit safer, and I'm simply going with Everton to win this game at 1.91, which I think is a good price. I'd have more around 1.8 personally. So 1.91 represented good value for me.
Yeah, well, you can get better than that in a few places. You get 1.95 at William Hill, 2s at Spreadex if anyone has an account there, and the exchanges too look like you can get maybe a touch better than 1.95. So yeah, plenty of bookies offering better odds than what you found there, mate. Unfortunately, I popped out for a bit during while you were talking. I had a few technical errors, but I hope I didn't miss. I think you just kept talking, mate, the whole time. I couldn't hear a thing you were saying. But yeah, I guess we'll just charge along, mate. Everything is back to normal now. But yeah, that's all the games you wanted to go through today, mate. What about your best bet of the week? And you've obviously gone through quite a few bets there in the Arsenal game, Everton game, and the Chelsea game. Yeah, out of all of them, which one is your favourite?
It's a toss-up between 2. I really like Everton to beat Southampton, but my best bet is going to be Chelsea to win in over 2.5 goals against Crystal Palace. I just think that Palace side is destined for relegation. I think they've lost too many players, and they're in trouble. And I think Chelsea are going to capitalise on that. They're on a high at the moment, probably the worst time you want to go away to Chelsea. And Palace hate going to the Bridge, so it's got goals for me, and I only see Chelsea winning it. So Chelsea to win and over 2.5 goals. So that'd be my pick. So I was looking for a few potential, like sort of foul lines and other card lines I like, but obviously I think, again, similar to the stats on Twitter, I want to wait until stats are more pertinent and you can get a better feel for how games sort of panning out and how the season's going. But ones like this, yeah, I'm quite confident in.
Yeah, no, it'll be really interesting to see the effect on fouls and cards now that crowds are back. But mate, thank you very much for coming on. You can find George on Twitter at @George Gamble for all his card stuff, and then you can find him also on @George_CGG for some of his other bets that he'll be posting up, I guess, over the weekend. Mate, we finish up with the quiz question of the week. It's back. Manchester City won the title by 12 points last season, but where were they on the table on Christmas Day?
Well, do you know, so I'm a City Plus member, which is just sounds horrendous to say. And we released sort of an end of season sort of video within the last 46 days of the season, like documentary. And because I remember we were quite low, and I want to say, but I know it was through the Christmas period we went on that ridiculous run that sort of got top of the table. But it was either 13th or 14th. I'm sure we were very, very low. It was not good. It was not good. But I'm not sure if that was on Christmas Day or if that was a few weeks before. So
yeah, mate, that might be a few weeks before.
Because we obviously must have been a bit higher then, because that was during the middle of the really, really good run. I'll say 7th.
Oh, you've missed it by one, mate. You're actually 8th, which is crazy.
Really?
I don't remember that. I remember you guys maybe being like 4th or maybe who knows. I mean, I was too busy looking.
No, at one stage we were 14th, and then everyone's calling for Pep's head. And then, like I said, that run through Christmas where we won every single game was just unprecedented. And that's what won us the league. Yeah,
that's crazy. That just shows the old the short-term biases that we have, because all I remember from last season is Manchester City just, being ahead by 20 points for the whole season.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool, mate. Thanks for coming on. Next podcast coming out will be on Monday. Hopefully I'll have a new guest for you all, and we'll hopefully be back next week to preview some more games. There should be just about next week, and we should have all the leagues back. Serie A start up next weekend, so back into the full swing of things. But thanks for listening, everyone. Please do a quick rate and review of the podcast and subscribe to us wherever you listen to the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. As I've mentioned a few times already this week, 10,000 subscribers. We are just about to hit that mark, so it's very exciting times. And if you're looking to implement some of the strategies we talked about today on the podcast, especially the value betting ones, start a free week trial of Trademate Sports. Never been a better time to start your value betting journey with all the soccer around the corner, or football, as all you Europeans call it. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers. Thanks again for having me, Alex. Much appreciated.